Put down the hammer, and pick up the pencil. You're about to listen to the Savvy Radio Show, yeah. Real estate info galore, so listen up, don't miss it. Hosted by the Savvy Landlord, oh.
Hello, Savvy Investors. This is your friend Steve Van Kallenberg, and I'm excited. I know I always say the same thing. I'm always excited. Actually, I'm really excited because I just got back from a retreat that I put together called Throttle Investor. And what it was something that I've always wanted to do, and to get together with the very best people that was available at the time, and get together and meet and grow and help each other. And basically, we covered what can you contribute to each other. So that was everyone that showed up had to speak, which was something that I went to at the Millionaire Summit years ago, which was very impactful for me, where there's people are just takers, and we need more contributors, more givers in society. And I want to be that person. Obviously, that's why I do the radio show. That's why I do what I do, is try to give back as much as possible, because I feel like I have received. And so I threw together this full throttle retreat, and I thought it went very well. And it was, I tried to do it as intimate as possible. It was my first time. There was a lot of things, a learning curve. And this podcast today, I'm going to cover what I learned. And first of all, what I learned is that everyone is an expert in something. And you have to ask yourself, what are you an expert in? What are you amazing in? What can you teach people? And I think that's important. There were some people that came to the retreat and maybe didn't think worthy enough. I invited them. I figured that their schedule would work. It doesn't matter, but you need to think that you're an expert in something, and you need to pick that. It was just very powerful that one guy he's known in his market to do burnouts. Like if you even mention the word burnout, his name comes up. Or another individual that was there that you mentioned rehab, flips, his name comes up. You think of automation or virtual assistant wholesaling, and this guy is an expert. So it really made me think, what am I an expert of? I spent a lot of time doing business and all these other weird things. What are they really yielding? Am I an expert in that area? So that's one thing that I learned. Everyone's an expert in something, and what it is. What are you an expert is? And another thing that I learned is that you can do anything. It was amazing. I have a very powerful story. I was raised from a single mother, broke. It's a pretty powerful story. Man, I heard a story from a guy that literally came to America with nothing and has built, and actually two guys built an amazing portfolio of real estate investors. And it was extremely inspiring, and how they overcome so much. And I think that's what you need to do. You need to get together with other people and learn about them, hear about them. And I know some people that I try to invite as many people as possible that were able to come. And some people just never responded to me. Some people just didn't even get my email, or got my email and didn't think about it. If you have interest at all in being a part of what I do, get on my list, email, Facebook me. I'm going to do this retreat again coming up in September, and I would love for you to come and, figure out what you can contribute. And I wouldn't think about where you're coming from, like you don't have enough to contribute, because we all can contribute. One other thing that I learned that cut out the bookkeeper. There's a guy, an investor, was pretty powerful. I covered Xero, the software before, Xero.com, Xero software. And this investor is probably saving about several $1,000s a year with bookkeeping. And as myself, that's a big expense for me. And what this guy does is, and I do this too, he takes pictures of his receipts. But what he does is, I didn't know this, that with Xero software, you can integrate it. He takes a picture of the receipt, classifies it right then, and sends it to Xero somehow. And that basically cuts out the bookkeeper, and then he gets all his information organized. Of course, his wife is kind of accountant type, but still, that could save thousands of dollars. And I'm already touching that receipt. I'm already moving in that direction. I save the receipt, then I give it to my general manager or your bookkeeper, or you use Shoeboxed, and then again, someone else has to look at it. The cool thing I thought that was it was very efficient. You're already taking the picture. You're already there making the purchase. May it be Amazon, may it be, at a restaurant and you're having a client meeting. Boom, took a picture, sent to Zero, already classified, already synced to his credit card account, where it made the purchase, and it was already synced as a deduction right there. Kind of think of Mile IQ. I thought that was very powerful. I learned that. Another thing I learned from a private lender that has been just killing it, borrowing money from investors. And one thing that I noticed that he said that you need to take out the guesswork for the private lender. And, when you think about it, a lot of people don't know about private lending. I met with a guy yesterday, never even heard of self-directed IRA. So I was like, okay, well, this savvy investor went to the next level, and he basically gives them reports. And at the end of the year, he gives them, it's called a 1098 form, and it's a mortgage interest statement. Basically, he wants to make it so easy so you would continue to loan him money and give them the return that they need, desire, or want. I thought that was very powerful. Another thing that I learned from that investor about private money is that don't write off anyone. Someone may know someone that can help you invest in real estate. You'd be surprised that there's a lot of ample money in IRAs, and people just are not getting the return in the stock market. We know that CDs, which is, certificate of deposits at banks, are not yielding anything. And they're relying on return on their investment. So you might want to consider, being a private lender or borrowing from a private lender. And if you are a borrower, take the guesswork out for that lender, give them all the information up front, and give them the return that they need or deserve. I learned another thing. I don't want to get into too much detail, but I learned that there's so many unique ways to find deals. Using Google Alerts, using the internet to farm and get stuff to you. So maybe one day we'll have a class on that. The individual that brought that to my attention, I was like, wow, that was pretty powerful. Instantaneous ways of getting leads. And I'm not sophisticated enough to tell you because it blew my mind, but maybe I'll have him on the show pretty soon. One thing I learned from another investor was the power of choice. Of course, it just sounds so easy, but we have a choice to succeed. And are you going to make that choice? If you made it this far in the podcast, only 7 minutes, you could have made a choice to turn it off. You could have made a choice to turn it on, but you got to make a choice to go do what you've learned. And that's why I did this podcast today. I want to keep this fresh in my mind, what I've learned. Hopefully the guys that I hung out with, that they would listen to this podcast and it would trigger something in them. Another thing that I learned was the book Traction. You just go to Amazon, get Traction. I was just in Mexico. Larry Goins spoke. He did an amazing job, and his life has changed in automation. His business runs efficiently. There's an inducer, an indicator, all these positions, kind of like the E-Myth, a little bit more advanced. It's called the book Traction. Very powerful. One of the investors that was at the retreat, drove home and listened to the book on the way home and said it slapped he texted me and said, man, it slapped him. There was a lot of things that he was doing wrong, and there's a lot of things that he can do right. And so that was a book called Traction. Another thing that I found is a company called Co-Construct. It's a piece of software, co-construct.com. I thought that was very powerful. If you're rehabbing houses, or you're in a construction business, or you're a builder, this guy was a builder and he was a rehabber. And there's a website called Co-Construction. Google it up, co-construct.com. And it's a CRM just specifically written for construction people. Thought that I looked at that real quickly, and I may do a tech on these websites I'm about to break off here, but this is just things that I found that were pretty powerful, and I definitely recommend that you use them or at least look into them. I always have a rule. If I start a new business or operate a business, it's got to be online, that I can manage it online, that my staff can get to it online, and Co-Construct look like that type of website that if I was going to be a builder or a construction person, I definitely recommend. Ed O'Toole, you're a builder, get on Co-Construct. another website that was just launched out that I thought that was very interesting called realtyjuggler.com. That's REALTY juggler.com. I'm definitely going to do a tech on that. You need to check that out. It sounded incredible. It had all these services. It was $100 a year. It was very reasonable. Check it out. Another software that I heard about, or a service, application, software, online, whatever, Freedom Voice, another way to get 1-800 numbers or good phone numbers, answering services, forwarding. Think Google Voice, maybe a little bit more robust. Superstar, Rehabber, all up on that deal, doing it, killing it, crushing it. You need to check that out, and that's Freedom Voice. All right, we're winding this down here. Okay, here's a couple of things that I learned. You should push yourself and have someone help you. There was a time, it was the second day of the retreat, and there was a guy that was really struggling about, I think that he was impressed that a lot of us that were there that had our business. Now, of course, it seems all impressive on the outside. You may think that I'm impressive listening to this radio show, and I don't have it on lockdown. And I was just excited that these men wanted to hang out, and we grew together. But what I thought that was the most powerful thing that weekend, this retreat, was there was a guy struggling, and he, not struggling like, I don't know, he was struggling in his business, and he wanted to go to the next level, and he felt that he couldn't do it. And the things that he was struggling with seemed easy to me. And it was like, do this, do that. Those type high D people out there, read this book or make this call. It just sounds so easy. And it was interesting. I learned this from being in a life group, aka Bible study, and there was a couple that were struggling with something, and my wife was like, "Okay, everybody, each week we need to contact this person and be accountable and encouraging." And it was a really powerful thing that I witnessed, and I was a part of that. And I applied that principle to this investor. I said, "When do you want to solve this problem?" He's like, "By June." How can you solve it? What software? And who could help you? And so there was about 12 or 14 or 10 more. I can't remember how many investors were there. Like 12 other investors were there. And we all took a week, each week from a week from now. And we're going to call this investor on a Monday at 10 a.m. and say, "Man, are you where you need to be? What can I help you with?" And be accountable. And I thought that was extremely powerful. A lot of guys came up to me. They were like, "You, dude, that was awesome." I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, but it was. And I was like, man, how can we here in just not on retreats, how can we be accountable to each other? I know there's a bunch of websites out there, and I tend to fall off. I get excited in the beginning, and, I use a goal software called Goals on Track. But do I really log in there? But I think there's something powerful about doing life together, about going down the road together, holding someone else's hand, maybe just metaphorically, but, calling a friend up. And I know there's someone listening to this right now that you have a friend that's been on your mind, and you need to call that dude or girl. And you need to say, "Hey, you're on my mind." That's it. You're on my mind. How is it going wholesaling? How is it going with your funding? How is it going selling that property? And I'm going to try to meet a guy today, and I know that he's trying to sell property. I know that it's frustrating for him. I know that he's hurting, and I can call him up, or hopefully I'll see him at lunch, and I'll say, "Hey, bro, what can I do to help? Can I put it on Facebook? Can I put a bandit sign out? What can I do to help?" And I think when you know that there's someone out there that's willing to help you, you're just a lot more motivated. And I thought that was extremely powerful, and it was just easy to do. And so I was the 10th guy on the list, and I already set it in my phone to contact this person at 10 o'clock on this day, sometime in May, and contact him. The other thing that I learned is that you need to be a friend and you need to serve others. It's just interesting staying in a house full of guys, and you could just tell a lot about people, how they live, what they eat, where they go, what they say, what they do on their phone, what they do on the laptop, when they go to bed, when they wake up, when they do this. And I think that we need to serve more people as just this collective. So the next time you're hanging out, going camping or getting together, first, all you millennials, you need to hang out. That's the first thing. You need to get together. There's just chemistry when you got like-minded people in a room that are achieving whatever goal they're doing. And it's just powerful to be a part of that. And then my final thought is that I thought this was incredible, and it was my first time doing it, and I felt like it was very inexpensive, and it was just renting a house and getting together and growing together. So I'm going to do one of those in September, and I'm going to open it up to whoever responds back to me. If you have any interest at all and you want to hang out for a weekend in September and do a kind of a mastermind. It's not really a mastermind, because I believe that mastermind is something that you continue on and grow together over a length of period of time, but a retreat. So this is called the Full Throttle Investor Retreat, coming up in September. If there's something that you're interested in, message me, email me. Finally, go to the website and do a voicemail. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this podcast. My name is Stephen Van Kallenberg. I am the Savvy Landlord. I'm excited that you got this far. Listen to other episodes. Hopefully inspired you. If inspired you, let me know. I would love to know more.
Investor Weekend is not far off, with over 10 information sessions to increase your portfolio. Log on to www.investorweekend.com. Whether you are a seasoned investor or never purchased a property before, you don't want to miss the Investor Weekend. Join us for a powerful, knowledge-packed weekend with over 10 informational sessions that are bound to enlarge your real estate investments. You will hear from the best national and local real estate investors that will share practical and relevant experiences with you, the investor. There will be several networking sessions to connect with other like-minded people for potential funding, partnerships, and yes, hot deals. Go to www.investorweekend.com. Did you know we meet once a month for the Landlord Lunch Meeting? The third Wednesday of every month. Go to landlordlunch.com.
Thanks for listening to the Savvy Radio Show. Glide online and listen to our other motivating episodes at savvyradioshow.com. Connect on Twitter at LandlordBook, and always be buying assets.